I'm saying this for Ian Eagle's benefit, who's on the line now. I am Hardy, and I am here, and Dan Roach is here, and John Wallach is here, and Chris Forsberg is all here. We're all here because we want to talk with Ian Eagle, the play-by-play guy for CBS Sports, who is the man now, and we'll be hearing lots of him coming up here from Atlanta and in the Final Four. Ian, it's a pleasure to talk to you again. How are you this morning?
Hey, what's up? Hardy. How are you?
Thank you.
Roachy.
Wow.
What's happening? Wallach.
Wow.
Hey, Forsberg.
What
Very impressive.
He's a pro. And Dan was in here trying to not make too much of your friendship with him, but you can tell he's proud. He's proud that he was able to say, hey, Ian Eagle might be able to come on the show and to get our reaction from that. It's a nice moment for us, but it's a nice moment for Dan, too.
Well, it's because we celebrate Syracuse and how great they are in the tournament.
Yeah, and the fact that Roachy is now, he's booking the show. He's a five-tool player, Roachy.
Can I ask you guys about Syracuse? Because I'm going through a lot of this with my daughter right now. Syracuse is one of those schools that very difficult to get into. I'm finding out now. Has it always been that way? Because I'm the first one to admit, I hear from friends of mine back in Michigan. It's like, oh, my son didn't get into Michigan State, where I went and graduated from. I'm like, oh, I didn't know. I'm sorry, I didn't know your son was a total idiot. How did he not get into Michigan State? But apparently, it's tougher now there and at some other schools. Has Syracuse always been tough to get into?
No, I would say that's probably changed a little bit.
I think if I submitted my, application and essay, zero chance of getting in right now.
Right.
Roachy did his in crayon, so let's go back to what was happening in his life at that point. No, I think that's pretty common. There are a lot of those from when you grew up and you have a perception of what that is, and then 25 years later, 30 years later, you're like, oh, no, that's like a safety school, man.
Right.
Like, no. It's actually challenging. It's hard.
Yeah. What are your thoughts so far on the tournament overall, Ian? I mean, a lot of people, some people, were just on their brackets. They were going chalk throughout, and we kind of poo-pooed that notion. What fun is that? Turns out they're right so far. Did you see it going this way? And entertainment-wise, how do you think it's been?
Yeah, I think there was a feeling coming into this year's tournament that it's the first year where you could really feel the effect of NIL, transfer portal, and how that's going to play out over the course of the first two rounds. And clearly there is a different feeling. Those double-digit seeds did not go out and pull off the huge upsets. And it's always a double-edged sword, because it's great for the tournament when you have a school that you knew very little about that comes up with a win, and then often they get pulverized in the second round, and you're like, oh, but the games are not competitive. It's one of those things when you look up today for the Sweet 16, the matchups are really good, the name recognition is really high, and yet you still have some storylines of teams that have not had this success sustained over time. Ole Miss has a chance to make the Elite Eight for the first time. BYU has not exactly been a basketball bastion for the last 35 years. So two teams that could make their way into the Elite Eight, and these would be pretty good storylines. And then you've got the teams that you expected to be here. Duke is tremendous. They look like a juggernaut. Florida is really good. Auburn is legit. Houston is legit. So we could be in San Antonio looking at powerhouses going head-to-head, and what you'll remember potentially is highly competitive, great games, and maybe even a memorable finish.
Do you think, Ian, one of the theories out there is the NIL and the money and everything else is maybe pushing the mid-majors and those Cinderella schools out? Do you believe in that at all, or is it just one of those years where chalk seems to be going through?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to think that we would compile data over a 3 to 5 year period to make those kinds of determinations. But if you're asking me simply what's been the effect this year, I think there's something to it. If you're a really good player at a mid-major, you're not staying. There's just no way that's going to happen. The Loyola of Chicago from, a number of years ago going to the Final Four, that's going to be tougher to do, maintaining 4 redshirt juniors that have played together, that have created chemistry, that have created cohesiveness. If there's any flash of one of those players being someone that could go to a higher level and make some money, they're going to go. So you're not going to sneak up on anybody anymore, and you can't just do it in a lab somewhere, remote location, and then emerge in the NCAA tournament for everybody to see. Everybody is out there in the portal, coaches along with players looking to see if they can better their life. And that's where we're at. Can there be a place where maybe we have a happy medium? Possibly. Like anything in life, there's often an overcorrection. But for right now, there is a feeling that this is where we are, and we'll see how that plays out over the next 3 to 5 years if this is the way it just is from here on out.
And we were talking about Dan Hurley earlier, and I know that regional wasn't yours, but what is your
No,
view?
it was. I was there.
Okay, your 10,000-foot view of Dan Hurley, his outbursts, and what's been going on with him.
Yeah, so I can just tell you from personal background of having covered him when he was at Rhode Island, knew him, back in the day when he was coming up the coaching ranks, and then getting the job at UConn. When we sit and talk to him for 15 minutes at a practice or day of the game, the guy is really insightful. He's a basketball genius. He is very affable and likable. And I do think when the game starts, he goes somewhere else. His brain is such that he now departs what might be his day-to-day comportment, and then not to say that he just loses it completely. I think he's still under control, but he has a lot of gesticulations and histrionics, and he's going to make you know that he's there. He's going to make the officials know. Meanwhile, he prepares his team incredibly well, and he does have an elite feel for how to win games. I didn't think it was egregious in the game that I covered the other day against Florida. What happened with the video afterwards, clearly that lives forever. Someone captures that as he's walking off, and that's Dan. Dan is emotional. It doesn't make it right. It doesn't mean that there's not a spot for him in college basketball, but I think he uses a lot of who he is for good, and then some of the things that we see that is just not normal and commonplace around how college basketball coaches carry themselves, it is going to turn people off. And there are a bunch of people that are turned off by it, and I get it.
Ian, I'm going to zag a little bit here. I think you know my colleague Drew Cotter pretty well.
Yes.
I need any dirt possible so that I could use on him. If you have any stories from his time with Noah, and if there's anything.
Yeah, I remember Drew as a young man in a quarter zip. That's all I remember. He just
still
wore the quarter zip over and over again.
So nothing has changed.
Yeah, still same kid. Same guy. Yeah.
He hasn't morphed into the dress shirt and down vest uniform.
Exactly.
Oh, can you somehow marry?
He wore that outfit to watch Scal take on George the Messiah, right? In New York City. That in itself says a lot right there.
Ian, have you ever dabbled in the quarter zip? Like, what is the protocol goes into the nightly dress code?
I've never dabbled in it for an on-camera appearance. I can tell you that. I tend to go with a more traditional shirt tie, and that's been my look. I actually came out of the womb in a shirt and tie with a side part. The video is pretty amazing. Maybe one day I can share it with you guys. Drew's really talented. He always was. He stood out, obviously, back in the college days, and it's been amazing. It's been amazing to watch his rise and to see how well he's handling it, and he's going to be doing this for a long, long time at an incredibly high level.
All right, very, very selfishly here, my last question for you, Ian. My Michigan State Spartans, I like them against Ole Miss. Will their near and quite puzzlingly, complete inability to shoot the basketball lead to their ultimate demise as they take on what I can only hope is Auburn in the round of the Elite Eight.
Yeah, I think the same thing that people felt about St. John's, there is that general feeling about Michigan State. If you get down double figures in one of these games and you just haven't shown the propensity to make threes on a consistent basis, that could be it. In a one-and-done format, it's just not your day, and obviously we saw that with St. John's. The difference with Michigan State, I think there are more pieces there. I think there are more options. If Richardson doesn't have it going, then Akins can compensate, or Holloman can make some plays, or Frankie Fiddler makes a shot or two, or Cohen Carr gets an offensive rebound and it energizes their team. They've got bigs that do a whole lot of little things. So I think they're a little bit more well covered and varied in their options if their plan A isn't working. Is it the team that you would earmark and say, oh my goodness, they're a guaranteed Final Four squad? Not necessarily, but they just find ways to win, consistently find ways to win. So I've had them a bunch this year. I've been impressed with them. I did have them in the loss in the Big Ten semifinals, and I think that was a little bit of a punch to the gut because it was a reminder of what could go wrong. But they're pretty battle-tested, and I do think the fact that Chase Richardson is coming off such a poor shooting game, that's not going to happen again. He's really talented. You're going to see him playing in the NBA as soon as next year.
Ian is going to be Friday night, 7:09 on CBS/WBZ. Ole Miss and Michigan State, followed by Michigan and Auburn coming up on the schedule.
Oh, okay, that's
Thanks, Danny.
I'll let you know because we're going to say goodbye to him. He's got other priorities.
Yeah, good
okay.
promo.
I know. I was saying we're going to get you out by
We can't do the whole
8:55.
thing we did last time when he was on, and like the marvelous Mr. Eagle and the whole story behind his life and everything.
No, and that was great. But Dan, like indicated to me silently, he had something really important to throw in at the end before I let you
I
go.
want to plug CBS and
That was it?
WBZ. That's why I'm here.
That was
It's
it?
my job.
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
my
because
life.
people
It's a
don't
big
know.
reveal.
Oh, because people don't know that
A lot
Iron
of them
Eagles
don't know.
go to the Final
Surprise! It could be
Four.
on TBS. It could be on True. We don't know. I'm just
That's
letting
true.
people know.
Thank you, Ian. I apologize
done.
for Dan.
No apologies whatsoever.
Wow. He made it so awkward at the end. We were having such a nice time. He acted
it was
like
really nice.
Yeah, thank you, Ian.
Until the end.
Yeah,
I don't
right.
know what happened.
Always good to talk to you. Thanks so
Thanks,
much.
Ian.
We'll be listening
See
and
you guys.
watching. All right, we'll see
Have
you.
fun.
See ya, and thank you.
There goes Ian Eagle.